भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody to this Saturday satsang. So I think we had a break of a few weeks because of festivals. So we are continuing fourth chapter. We're going to read from chapter 4, verse 10. Very important verse. All verses of Bhagavad Gita are important. Okay, so verse 10. Anybody has access to the book? Can anybody wants to read the verse? Anybody has Bhagavad Gita as it is in front of them? Chapter 4, verse 10.
Yes, no, one. Chapter 4.
Yeah. Can you speak a bit closer to the mic?
Yes, bro.
Yeah.
Chapter 4, verse 10.
Yeah.
Vitaragah vaya krodha manmaya mam upasritah bhavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamágatah.
Okay. Read the translation.
Yeah. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, actually, two verses in Bhagavad Gita reflect our where we are stuck. One is this verse, of course, there are many, but two verses that come to my mind. One is this Raga Bhaya Krodha. And then the same thing it is said that Kama Krodha Lobha. Kama Krodha Lobha, they are gateways to hell. So these three things basically Raga Bhaya Krodha. So these are actually what is preventing us from achieving Krishna. So this is very important. It's very important. So Raga means attachment, Bhaya means fear, Krodha means anger. Okay, so Krishna is saying one has to become free from attachment, fear, and anger. And just being free from attachment, fear, and anger is not enough. What do we have to do? We have to become fully absorbed in Krishna. We have to become fully absorbed in Krishna. And we have to take refuge in Krishna. Refuge means shelter. Like no other shelter, only Krishna. Shelter means in all situations being dependent on Krishna. And he's saying by doing this, many persons in the past have become purified by knowledge of me. So which means that we also have to have knowledge of Krishna. If we can achieve all this, then he's saying, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. It's a beautiful verse. So let me read the purport, long purport. As described above, it is very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the supreme absolute truth. So if one is too materially absorbed, materially affected, then they can't understand the personal nature, Prabhupada is saying. Because when they are so absorbed in materialism, then they first of all might not even have interest to come and understand about Krishna. Even if they try to come and understand about Krishna, then they start thinking about Krishna as another person. And because they are so absorbed in material things, they'll think that everything has to be seen from material viewpoint. So then they look at Krishna and say, oh, Krishna has 2 hands, 2 legs. No, we cannot accept somebody who has 2 hands, 2 legs. That is body, that is material body. So they reject Krishna's personal feature. And then they say, see, something above all this materialism must be very different from what we see in this material world. So it must be some very big power, Shakti. So it must be this effulgence, Brahman effulgence. Brahman is the Supreme Lord. Because we don't see anything like Brahman in this material world. So if we are too absorbed and like I said, then there are others who are too absorbed, then they don't even want to try and understand these things. And if somebody tries to come and understand and they think they're too intelligent, they don't want to follow acharyas, then they will want the impersonal conception of the Lord. They don't want personal feature. They want impersonal feature, because personal feature they think is low class, belonging to the material world. So Vishnu they can understand. Oh, okay, forearm. But still, he still looks like a person. Impersonal Brahman, all powerful, all pervading. Generally, people who are attached to the bodily conception of life are so absorbed in materialism that it is almost impossible for them to understand how the Supreme can be a person. Such materialists cannot even imagine that there is a transcendental body which is imperishable, full of knowledge and eternally blissful. Because the Prabhupada is saying, in the materialistic concept, body is perishable, full of ignorance and completely miserable. So this is contrast, complete contrast. Transcendental body is Sat Chit Ananda. Sat, it is eternal. Chit, it is full of knowledge. And it is full of bliss. Full of bliss. And what is material body? Asat, Achit, Nirananda. Asat. Asat means that which is not permanent. Achit, which is not full of knowledge, which is full of ignorance. Nirananda is full of distress, no happiness. So since materialism is all about Achit, Asat, Achit and Nirananda, they cannot understand how a similarly looking body can be Sat, Chit, Ananda. They can understand this. Therefore, people in general keep the same bodily idea in mind when they are informed of the personal form of the Lord. They know that form also should be Asit, Achit, Asat, Achit and Nirananda. For such materialistic men, the form of the gigantic material manifestation is supreme. Okay, I was talking about Nirakar, but they also think about, of course, Prabhupada in the next statement says, consequently, they consider the supreme to be impersonal. This gigantic material conception is something that Krishna shows to Arjuna, Virat Rupa, Vishwarupa. So they want to think about something which is unlimited, which is huge. So they think about this Vishwarupa, which is, when we come to the 11th chapter, it's unimaginable. It has so many mouths, legs, and so many hands, so many bodies, so much of energy, all powerful, all pervading. So they think, okay, something like that can be considered as a supreme person, because it just seems like it is much beyond us. And because they are too materially absorbed, the conception of retaining the personality after liberation from matter frightens them. So now they are already, we know we are struggling with this body, this material world. So they are like, oh no. If you have to retain this material body again after liberation, no, then I don't want liberation. Can I get something where I don't get this kind of material body again? But they don't understand that we don't get this kind of material body. We get a completely opposite, Satchit Ananda Deha, not Asat Achit Nirananda Deha. So then they say, no, I don't want to have a body again. So then is there any other option? Yeah, impersonalism. I don't have any body. So they naturally prefer a kind of merging into the impersonal void. So this is what Sripad Shankaracharya came to give. He came to give this impersonal, said, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Yeah, we are all Brahman because we are part of Brahman, because we are part of Parabrahman. We are all individual sparks which are part of the Supreme Spirit, right? Who is Parabrahman, who is the Supreme Lord. But we are not we are not ourselves supreme. We are not ourselves supreme. So they want to become one with that. They want to become one with that Supreme Spirit, because we are small spirit. Generally, they compare the living entities to the bubbles of the ocean which merge into the ocean. That is the highest perfection of spiritual existence attainable without individual personality. So Shankaracharya said that, that we will become one with the Lord. This is called Sayujya Mukti. Devotees don't like this Sayujya Mukti, because in Sayujya Mukti there is no seva. In fact, Bhagavatam also says, saying that, if somebody wants to become one with the Lord, then because they will become one with the Supreme Brahman, the impersonal Brahmajyoti, they, due to lack of activity, they again come back to this material world and they become philanthropists. They want to open hospitals, these kind of social service kind of institutions. Because they came to the spiritual platform, but they achieved impersonal Brahman, which is actually impersonal Brahman is that effulgence which is coming out from the body of the Lord. And this Brahma Jyoti, while it is present all over the spiritual world, but it is also present outside the spiritual planets. Okay, so we should understand we are in the material world. Okay, material world has material universes. Each universe has multiple planets. Then this is said, okay, 1/4 of the whole creation. Then beyond all this material creation, there is something called the Karana Jala, the causal ocean. And then after that, the spiritual world starts. But the first part of before the spiritual planets start is called Brahma, where Brahmajyoti is there. And those who achieve impersonal liberation, they go and become one with that Brahmajyoti. So they don't even get an opportunity to go into Vaikuntha Loka. They can't enter into Vaikuntha Loka. They are just on the border between material world and the spiritual planets. So Bhagavatam says they fall down again because there's no activity there. There's no activity in the Brahmajyoti. Generally, they compare this is a kind of fearful stage of life, devoid of perfect knowledge of spiritual existence. Furthermore, there are many persons who cannot understand spiritual existence at all. Being embarrassed by so many theories and by contradictions of various types of philosophical speculation, they become disgusted or angry and foolishly conclude that there is no supreme cause and that everything is ultimately void. So this is also there, right? Like, so if you go on the internet, there are so many people who speak about Bhagavad Gita, ultimate knowledge, is that and all that. And generally, people are also very used to going and searching for these things on the internet. Internet has its pros and cons. So please don't hear from anybody who is not coming in Vaishnava Parampara, because otherwise we will go into this Nirakar Brahman, waste of life, complete waste of life, right? Such people are in a diseased condition of life. Some people are too materially attached and therefore they do not give attention to spiritual life. Some of them want to merge into spiritual cause and some of them disbelieve in everything, being angry at all sorts of spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. So three types of people Prabhupada is saying. One is materialistic affected people. First one is they don't give attention to spiritual life at all. They were just engrossed in material life. Second is they want to become one with Brahman. That is the second class. Third class, they don't believe anything in anything. They just disbelieve in everything. This last class of men take the shelter of some kind of intoxication, and their affective hallucinations are sometimes accepted as spiritual vision. One has to get rid of all three stages of attachment to the material world: negligence of spiritual life, fear of spiritual personal identity, and the conception of void. To get free from these stages of the material concept of life, one has to take complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master. Follow the disciplines and regulative principles of devotional life. The last stage of devotional life is called bhava. So here Krishna is talking about puta mad bhava magataha. So Krishna is saying that if we become free from attachment, fear, and anger, and become fully absorbed in him and take refuge of him, upashritaha, ashritaha, if we take shelter of him, then he becomes mad bhavam. He will come to my bhava. So two things I want to explain, right? So first part is this raga, bhaya, krodha. So we understand too much of material attachment. If we don't get what we want, then there is also frustration. Then that also results in anger. Then there's fear. Fear also arises when we are too materially attached and we think that we are the body. Bhayam ditya vinibeshatashyat. Bhagavatam says, when we think that I am the body, when human being thinks that he doesn't have knowledge about himself being a soul, and he thinks that he is the body. When he thinks he is the body, then there is fear, because there is fear of loss. There is fear of loss of body, which otherwise is called death. People are afraid of death, really afraid. They can deal with anything else. They can't deal with death. So they can deal with suffering. They can deal with challenges in life. They can deal with difficult situations. They can deal with bad relationships. They can deal with everything, because they just think that this is life. This is how one has to live. Fight all the situations. But they can't deal with death. Ultimate fear. Why they can't deal with it? Because in all these other situations, somehow they feel, oh, I'm still there. Okay, my possessions are there. My family is there. My relatives are there. Everybody is there. But death means losing everything. So they are very, very afraid of death. So either there is attachment, too much of material attachment, right? Me and mine. This is mine. This is me, and everything belongs here is mine. Ishopanishad, one of the important Upanishads. So it says, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. It says everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. We are just caretakers. But those who are materially absorbed, they don't think of themselves as caretakers. They think of themselves as proprietors, owners of these material things. So when they have this attachment, then of course, then there is anger. Anger is frustration because of not getting what we want. And we think, mostly people think in terms of material viewpoint. And if they don't get what they want materially, they become angry. So all this is arising from excessive material attachment. Excessive material attachment. So we should not be too overly attached to money, family. We should not become too overly attached, because see, we should remember one thing: in material world, whatever gives us happiness also gives us distress. So if family gives us happiness, family will also give distress. If money gives us happiness, money will also give us distress. So actually, one who is intelligent doesn't become too involved in them. He just uses them Family, yes, okay, it's a matter of duty. There is a naturally there is affection, but that is why it is advised that one has to think of everybody else on the spiritual platform, not on the material platform. Spiritual platform means there is not much difference between my daughter and my neighbor's daughter. We treat both of them similarly. But generally we are too self-centered. We always just want to worry about ourselves, not about others. So this kind of mentality, it will make us too much of material attachment. So we cannot think about going out of this material world, because we just think that this is permanent. This is permanent. I have to make all perfect arrangements. And life is all about, life throws challenges at us, and we have to fight so that we maintain the convenience, the comfort in which we are supposed to live. This is not life. This is not the intention of life, to just keep trying to improve our material prospects. So this is very important. So we have to become free from attachment, fear, and anger. Now, who has to become free from attachment, fear, and anger? If they want Krishna, if they want perfection in spiritual world life, then they should give up fear, anger, and attachment. Not otherwise. So first of all, the first question to be asked, we should ask ourselves is, do I want Krishna? Why do I want Krishna? Anybody wants to answer? Why should we want Krishna? Why not we be happy with this material world of attachment, fear, and anger?
We need to go to moksha.
No, but why? Why moksha? Anyway, what is moksha?
You do not want rebirth.
No, that's not a very interesting reason. We'll give a more interesting reason. That is okay. That is okay. Moksha is okay. Rebirth, not wanting rebirth is okay, but that doesn't require Krishna. That we can get rebirth, we can go to Vaikuntha also.
Prabhuji, can I say?
Yeah, please.
What I feel is the life on earth is painful.
Okay.
Every step we have some other pain. And even if we want to dedicate some time for serving Lord, we cannot do that much serving here. Because we have so many responsibility and attachments and so many other things like office, household work, kid, that, this and everything. And if we go to Krishna, probably there is only one job, that is to serve Krishna and love Krishna. That's why I feel that's nice that we should be with Krishna.
Okay. Anybody else has any other reasons why they want to go to Krishna? Okay, at least first question is, whether we want Krishna. That question has to be answered, right? If everybody here on this, in this session, they think that they want Krishna. Is there anybody here who is still not very sure? They think, it's okay. Material world seems okay. Anybody here happy with the material world? Or saying, okay, no, it's fine, let's go on. Let's try some more. Let's put some more effort. Maybe things will work out. Anybody here?
So, material world is good if you see in short term, like if you don't see Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, which are not, we're not experiencing.
We don't want a theoretical answer, Ravindra Prabhu. If do you believe that you want to be here, or do you don't, you're okay. You don't, I mean, do you want to continue to be in this material world or not?
No, Prabhu.
So I want somebody,
because because we see already so many problems here, but we don't know about the another world. We don't know clearly. Only thing about whatever Guru is telling and from scriptures, we are theory only we are hearing. We are not experiencing, right? Anything.
But why do we want to experience? We will, if we have qualified to experience, we'll experience. No, hearing is the first stage. But anyway, that's a different discussion. So my question is there anybody here who wants to remain in this material world? Because if you want to remain in this material world and you're happy with it, then the rest of the words will sound meaningless. Because this is only for those people who want to understand, who want to achieve this bhava. So this verse is for those people who want to achieve bhava. So the first thing we have to understand is, yes, Padma Mataji said, Purnima Mataji said, okay, this place is miserable, so we don't want rebirth. Now, that's okay. That's not a bad reason, but that's not a very good reason as well. So then Purnima Mataji talked about, okay, that service, which is very nice, that there is possibly not so much opportunity to serve here. There is a lot more opportunity to serve in the spiritual world. Now, the topmost reason why we would want to achieve this bhava of Krishna is Krishna is that kind of a person. See, in the whole creation, there is nobody like Krishna. Why there is nobody like Krishna? He's so dear. He's so dear to all living entities. And especially he's called Bhaktavatsala. He's extremely dear to his devotees. He is ready to give up his own position, his own name, everything for the pleasure of his devotees. What is Krishna's work? What does Krishna do in spiritual world? What does Krishna do in the spiritual world?
Just enjoyment, bro. Enjoying.
Just enjoyment. That's it. And whom does he enjoy with? He enjoys with his devotees. Right? So this is Krishna. Right? So now, yeah, we talked about, this world is miserable, too much of problems, etc., etc. But Nirakara Brahman, there are no problems at all. But there is no happiness. There is no real happiness. Yes, Brahmananda is there, but that Brahmananda is considered like a drop of the real bliss that is there in the spiritual world. So first of all, we should develop a desire to go to Krishna. For that is why Krishna is talking here about knowledge of me. He says one who has knowledge of me, only then you will want to develop. One part is okay, right? The first part, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. Okay, this material world is miserable, there is fear, there's anger, there's this, that. Okay, I don't want it. Fine. Now Krishna is talking about three more parts. Krishna is talking about second part, which is to always be absorbed in him. Third part, which is to take his shelter in all situations. Fourth part, to have knowledge about him. Of course, we have to have knowledge about him before we can take shelter of him, before we become absorbed in him. How do we get knowledge about Krishna? Do we have to go and see him ourselves?
By reading scripture, bro.
So Shravanam. So we should not take this source, the most reliable source of knowledge, Shabda Brahma. So Shruti, Smriti. So all of these, there are so many scriptures, so many self-realized souls, so many empowered souls who come down to this material world to actually give us this understanding. Now they have seen. We don't have to see, right? See, this is why in topmost intelligence is when somebody else who has seen is telling, then we take it. Right? Otherwise, lower level intelligence is I want to experience everything myself. Okay, I'm seeing a thief. He's being, put into jail. Or somebody is saying that, okay, if you rob, then you're going to be put into jail. Then you say, no. I don't want to believe in your words. I want to experience it. Okay, fine. Go and rob. Get caught. Go into the jail. Then only believe. I mean, this is low class intelligence. High class intelligence is that we hear from the right source. And if the right source is saying that, this is what it is. This is what is the spiritual world. This is what Krishna is. Then we accept it. First of all, so for that, we have to know who this person is who is saying. So then the whole question of parampara comes in, which is why I was saying, please don't hear from anybody and everybody. Evam parampara praptam evam rajarsho viduhu. So one who is coming in the parampara, there are 4 authorized Vaishnava paramparas. We've talked about this. We hear about them, hear from them. They will describe Krishna to you. Our acharyas, especially in this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, they are all personally assisting, serving Shri Radha Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. So when they tell something, it is directly coming. Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana. It is directly coming from Goloka, from Krishna's world. So we have to hear from Shastra. So we have to read Srimad Bhagavatam. You have to read Bhagavad Gita. We read here Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then we understand about Krishna. And when we get knowledge about Krishna, we'll be like, oh, so nice. I want to serve this person. We always serve. Prabhupada says, right? Material world, we are always serving. Every moment, every person is serving someone or the other. Either we are serving our 6 anarthas, our different vegas, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, pacha vegam, manasa vegam, jiva vegam. Speech, mind, tongue. Either we are serving these or we are serving somebody else. Maybe husband is serving wife, wife is serving husband, parents are serving children, parents and elders are serving old people. Then we are serving our office, society, etc., etc. We are always engaged in service, but this is all low class service because none of this will give us the real ananda. That ananda, which is actually Satchid Ananda, that ananda is natural for us to experience because we are that spiritual spark. That ananda is experienced only when we know about Krishna, understand his position, understand our position. This is called Sambandha Gnana. Understand that I am servant of Krishna. By serving him is when I'm going to get happiness. So one has to develop knowledge about Krishna. One has to hear about Krishna. And understand Krishna as acharyas are telling us, because we can't understand. Our intelligence is very limited and it is always colored. It's colored by our vision of this world. We can't understand. We're not pure, simply put. If you are only pure, only those who are pure can help us understand what Krishna is. So we have to understand Krishna. And Krishna is so sweet. Krishna has 4 qualities which are not even there in Vishnu. But Krishna is the source of all Vishnus. And he has 4 qualities which are not there in Vishnu, which is Rupa Madhurya, Venu Madhurya, Bhakta Madhurya, Leela Madhurya. His form is beautiful. His flute is beautiful. His pastimes, Leela, is beautiful. And his devotees are beautiful. He has beautiful relationship with you. So all this is called Ma. These 4 qualities are not there in any other personality of Godhead. All of these Vishnu Tattvas, they're generally called personalities of Godhead. And Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So he has all these beautiful qualities, and one can serve Krishna in 4 or 5 different rasas. Shanta, normally we don't consider it as a rasa. Shanta, Dasya, first is servitude. I'm a servant. Yeah, Krishna has a form. That is what I'm trying to tell Mataji. Krishna has a form. Krishna's is the supreme form. The formless comes from the form, right? Like Krishna has a form, and human beings actually have form which are similar to Krishna. 2 hands, 2 legs, etc. In 11th chapter Bhagavad Gita, after Krishna shows the Vishwarupa, then Krishna shows his Vishnu form to Arjuna, and then he shows his form. It's called Sham Sundar form. Then in 12th chapter, Arjuna is asking Krishna, Krishna, what is great? You have a personal form and you have an impersonal form. Worshipping which one is better, is superior? Because by now, Arjuna has understood, saying that, okay, Krishna is saying, he's showing a form. Then he's also saying there is avyakta, the impersonal, the energy that is coming from his body, which is also supreme, because it is coming from Krishna's body. So then Arjuna is saying that which is better? Is your impersonal Brahman better, or your personal serving your personal form better? You tell me which is better. Then Krishna says that it is my personal form. It cannot be seen by anybody. No qualification can help you except being a devotee. Nobody else can see my form, my personal form. So Krishna has a beautiful personal form, and he is eternally, 15 years, between 15 to 16 years of age. We should read Krishna book. We'll understand what is Krishna's personality. So we don't want this Brahman, Nirakar Brahman. It's just brightness, light coming from his body. Which form? While chanting, we should not have any form. While chanting, we just hear about Krishna's name. That's it. We chant, we pronounce properly, and we chant. When we are serving Krishna's form, Krishna and Radha. There in, we have photos in ISKCON, Shri Radha Madhav, Radha Sham Sundar. So many forms are there. We serve them because Krishna is a form, and this is the beauty about Krishna, right? He's just like us, or rather, we are just like him. But he has superlative qualities which no human being can even think of, right? And all human beings have just a iota of qualities that Krishna has. So this beautiful form of Krishna, and Krishna allows us to establish a relationship with him. This is even wonderful. Okay, there might be some very great person, maybe Narendra Modi, but will he give an opportunity for everybody to build a relationship with him? No. But Krishna offers this opportunity for every jiva. He is unlimited. He doesn't have any time restrictions. No, I can only deal with so many people. No material limitations. So he is offering an opportunity for all of us to develop a relationship with him. So we can either develop a relation in Dasya, we can either develop a relation in Sakhya, we can become his friend, cowherd friends, or Vatsalya, like his parents. We can't become his parents like Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, but we can become like his parents. We can become other senior Gopas and Gopis in Vrindavan and exchange the same love, parental love. Or we can become his conjugal lovers, Madhurya Rasa. So there is all these various opportunities to serve Krishna, and Krishna extends himself. He gives himself to us, saying that, okay, I am available. So that is why Krishna says, what does surrender mean? If we tell Krishna, saying, Krishna, we are yours. I am yours, Krishna. Please engage me in your service. Krishna says, I am also yours. This is beauty of Krishna. Right? And he doesn't worry about his own position, his own name, what people will think about him. He's just concerned about his devotees. And he does everything for the pleasure of his devotees. Even if it means going against the, the general expectation. People expect from Supreme Lord also. Oh, Supreme Lord, you have to be like this. So Krishna doesn't mind going against his expectation, those expectations. Like a king. I mean, who can set any expectations on a king? I mean, he set all the rules and regulations for others to follow. Nobody can expect him to adhere to all these rules and regulations. Like that, we can't expect Krishna to be like limited like us. And he is happy to supersede that and, maybe become an enigma in the eyes of others. People can't understand Krishna. So which is why we have to read from Shastra, and it takes a lot of purification. Only if we are pure in heart, we can understand Krishna. If we have material attachment, if we have our own conceptions, thinking I am intelligent, I am this, I am that, we can't understand Krishna. It requires a lot of humility, understanding that I am nobody, I have no understanding, no knowledge, no nothing. In that mood, if we surrender to our acharyas and we hear from Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, then we can understand Krishna. And when we understand Krishna, we think, oh, there is nobody else with whom we should build a relationship. Krishna says, Aham bija pradapita. Yes, while he's our father, but he also offers other relationships that we can build. So here, Krishna is talking about Puta Mad Bhava Magata. So here, Prabhupada, in the purport, so he's talking about, this according to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Science of Devotional Service. So we should all have this book. It's called Nectar of Devotion. So it says, Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya Tho Anartha Nivritti Syat Tato Nishta Ruchis Tata Hata Asaktis Tato Bhavas Tata Prema Abhyudanchati Sadhakanamayam Premna Pradur Bhave Bhavet Kramaha. Kramaha, step by step, one makes progress towards what is called as bhava before the final stage of perfection, which is called prema. The final stage of perfection is called prema. Krishna prema is the perfection of human life. Before reaching that stage, there is a stage called bhava. And Krishna is telling here, that person who gives up raga, bhaya, krodha, who becomes absorbed in me through devotional service, who takes complete shelter of me, who has knowledge about me, he comes to this bhava stage. And what are the different stages before bhava? First there is shraddha. First there is ado shraddha. First there is faith. That's why I asked, how many of us want this? How many of us think that devotional service can give us that perfection? That is shraddha, initial faith. So once we have faith, then we do sadhu sangha. Like we associate with other devotees. We try to understand, we try to hear about transcendental topics. This is called sadhu sangha. As our sadhu sangha increases, gradually then we come to the stage of actually accepting a spiritual master, because spiritual life, we cannot make progress in spiritual life unless we are accepted by a spiritual master. Spiritual master, actually, he is a living Bhagavata. He holds our ears and turns it. He gives us guidance as to how to live, how to make our life perfect. So one has to come to that stage of being accepted by a spiritual master. Then we start our bhajana kriya. So bhajana kriya is all the various angas of bhakti: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So mainly we focus on Shravanam, Kirtanam, mainly hearing and chanting about Krishna. And that hearing and chanting about Krishna has to happen under the guidance of a spiritual master. Of course, Srila Prabhupada is also our Shiksha Guru. He is giving us Gnana. But along with that, we also should have a Diksha Guru. So this is Bhajana Kriya. Then Anartha Nivritti. So this Anartha Nivritti is a stage when all this Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, all of them are cleansed from our hearts. Our hearts become clean. When our hearts become clean, only then we can actually understand Krishna. Till then, we just hear about him. We can't really understand. So we have to cleanse our heart from this. That is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshastaka says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhava Maha Davagni Nirvapanam. So by this chanting process, Cheta Darpana Marjanam, the mirror of the heart is cleansed. So we have to become cleansed of all these anarthas. And this anartha nivritti is like a uphill slope. When you're cycling on a steep hill, you have to continuously keep pedaling. You can't afford to stop even for a moment. And what happens if you stop it for a moment? Then we just slip down. So bhakti is like that. Every day it is a fight against Maya, and we have to keep fighting. So we have to do sadhana bhakti every day. Shravanam Kirtanam, Shravanam Kirtanam. Then after lot of hard effort, hard work, then we cross Anartha Nivritti. Then after we cross Anartha Nivritti, then here it is saying, then Tata Nishtha. Nishtha means that fixed devotional service. We are fixed. We are very clear. All our mental, all our doubts, concerns, etc., everything is clear. We are now fixed. We are fixed in devotional service, devotional activities. Take up commitments to serve Krishna and Guru, and we stick to our commitments. This is Nishtha. After Nishtha, then there is Ruchi. Ruchi. Then there is taste. Ruchi means taste. In the early stages, we do just because somebody is telling us, oh, okay, somebody is telling we have to do all this. Okay, let me do. But we don't really have a taste, natural inclination. We might have in some activities, but many a times, some of these activities might not be very much in line with pure devotional service. So then, we might face some challenges to make changes in our life. For example, demigod worship. When demigod worship is for somebody who wants to take, because Krishna is saying here, take shelter of me. So then not taking shelter of demigods. But if we continue to keep worshipping demigods, then we can't take shelter of Krishna. Then we can't come to this, we can't develop this ruchi. We will get stuck. It's still lower stage, but I'm just saying. So we have to develop a taste. We have to develop a taste for devotional service. We have to develop a taste for chanting. Today we will do chanting. Okay, 16 rounds. How many of us here doing 16 rounds? I know Anu Prabhu, Madhusmita Mataji, Patil Prabhu does, Madhurya Mataji does, Rupa Mataji does. Then Purnima Mataji does, Ravindra Babu Prabhu does, Ravi Teja Prabhu does, Shashikala Mataji does, Soumya Mataji does. Then I don't know about, I think Venkatesh Prabhu does. I don't know about Usha Mataji, Chandra Babu Prabhu, Dhruvi, Venkatesh Prabhu also does. Dhruvi Mataji, Kodandraman Prabhu, Medha Mataji, and Padma Mataji, and Sanat Prabhu. I don't know how many you're chanting, but we should come to chanting 16 rounds. Every day we should be chanting 16 rounds. Then we develop a taste for chanting 16 rounds. Now we are chanting 16 rounds, we'll say, oh, okay, my 16 rounds is over. Then keep the bead bag away till tomorrow. But when we reach this ruchi, then we will want to chant more and more. We don't want to leave the beads at all. That is ruchi. Then there is asakti, then there is bhava. So these are all very high stages of bhakti, which basically, I mean, we don't have to get into a lot of detail at this point of time. We will come to that when, we reach that stage. But just to understand, obviously, first thing is we have lost all attachment to material things. We understand, okay, our Acharya says, Yukta Vairagya, whatever is there with us materially, we just use it in Krishna service. That's it. We don't bother much more than that. We don't get more attached to this material world than that. And we understand, okay, this Dukhalayam, we should not be here. We should be focusing on reaching the spiritual world, etc., etc. So we know all that. Okay, and then we have developed intense attachment to Krishna. We understand Krishna, who he is, what his qualities are, who are we, what is our position. We are his servants. We want to serve him. Then we develop attachment to serving him. We develop attachment to hearing about Krishna. We develop attachment to chanting his names. And then we go on to bhava, and then finally prema. So like I said, we can have this relationship of love, either as a servant, as friendship, as parents, or as conjugal lovers. So these are different ways in which we can serve Krishna in the spiritual world. And Krishna allows. There's infinite space. Anybody can go and become part of the spiritual world. It's not like there's any quota. So Krishna is saying that we should come to this platform. We should develop this bhava and then prema. So which means that we should understand that devotional life is the only thing in life, really. Devotion, becoming a devotee is the only goal of our life. Everything else is okay. I mean, it's not like we are not saying we should not do our duties, we should give up our duties, we should stop working. No, we just do it as a matter of responsibility. That's it. Not becoming too attached to these things. Our real focus needs to be devotional activities. So for which we have to become, only when we engage, we know, we have knowledge of him, we want to develop a relationship with him, then we engage in his activities, then we become absorbed in him. And of course, we take complete shelter of him. Shelter of him means, like I said, not taking shelter of any other demigods, not taking shelter of any other big people of this material world. No, we simply depend on Krishna. Okay, I need to go to a doctor. Okay, I go to a doctor, but I'm not depending on doctor, because doctor cannot really cure me. If Krishna wants, then the doctor's medicine can cure me. So then depending on Krishna, okay, if Krishna wants, let it happen. This is surrender. So one who lives life like this, he can achieve the spiritual world. He can go to the spiritual world. He can develop that bhava for Krishna. And that is the goal of human life. Otherwise, it is as good as animal life. Actually, it's worse, because human life is wasted. Human life is wasted in ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuna. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. This is not human life. This is animalistic life. Uncultured human life, which is otherwise Shastra says animal life. Okay, so this is the whole, so beautiful. Like, see, Krishna in the 4th chapter only is saying that, this is what is the goal. So please engage yourself in bhakti and come to this platform and come to spiritual world. Says, I will accept you. So request all of you to please become understand these concepts, right? Why are we reading Bhagavad Gita? So that we understand clearly, saying what is the goal of life, who is Krishna, what do we need to do. Okay, Padma Mataji. You should not see. Okay, question is, while chanting, can we think about a form of Krishna? It is okay initially, but it's not the best practice. The best practice is to focus on the nama. When the mind gets distracted, then we can think of the form of Krishna. See, and also form of Krishna, like I said, it has to be in authorized parampara. So photos that we have in ISKCON, Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar, there, because we actually don't know the real form of the Lord, right? But in our sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada has mercifully given us a form. But we want to know Krishna as he is. While he's accepts the form Archa Vigraha form in the temples, right? But he, we really don't see him right now with our eyes, because we don't have that qualification yet. So we have to focus on hearing, because hearing the nama is not different from seeing him, but we are just not able to see him because we are not qualified. But Krishna has so mercifully given us an opportunity to hear about him. So when we hear the word name Krishna, it is not different from seeing him. So we should understand that eyes are not the only way to experience things in this material world. And actually, in fact, the most powerful is the ear. Because even when you're sleeping, when your eyes are closed, you can hear. So the whole process of chanting is to hear. When we progress in our chanting, eventually the form of Krishna will be revealed. We will then, with our own eyes, we will be able to see Krishna's actual form. We will be able to see Krishna in the spiritual world. So, but for that to be able to happen, we should now hear. If we now start seeing, then we will not achieve the perfection of the process. Perfection of process is when we hear. So we have to focus our mind on hearing Krishna and understand, okay, Krishna's name is not different from Krishna. It is as good as seeing him. And then we continue with that conviction and then continue practice. At one point of time, Krishna will reveal his form. No, sky and all, nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. So chanting means just simply hear Krishna's name, chant, pronounce the names properly, and attentively try to hear. Mind will wander, bring the mind back on hearing. If this process is followed, then we will achieve perfection. If anything else is done, then we will not be able to achieve perfection, because that becomes some other process. That the process to achieve this Krishna Prema is to attentively hear, pronounce nicely and attentively hear. Simple process. But we complicate it. We want to, that's not, everybody does this. So we should not complicate the process. Process is very simple. Let's simply try to hear attentively. That's it. And we can achieve perfection. This is the beautiful process. So simple. Sankirtana Yagna, Harer Nama Iva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva Gatiranyata. This Hare Krishna Mahamantra is given to us in Kali Yuga. Special mercy by the Lord himself, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He came and gave us this. So simple process. All this raga, bhaya, krodha, everything will run away. Attachment to Krishna will happen. Will become absorbed in him. All this, whatever this verse is saying, will happen if we simply follow A, B, C, D. Associate with devotees. Association with devotees means not just once in a week. Association with devotees means keeping in touch with them, talking to them, asking questions. That is association. Because otherwise what will happen over a period of time, this once in a week, then it'll become once in 2 weeks, then it'll be like, it's okay, it doesn't matter, this is not very important for me. Then we just wasted our life. So sad. So please keep in touch with devotees. There are so many other devotees here, who will be happy to engage with you, talk to you, give their time to you. Please engage with devotees. B, books, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, always available. Hard copy, soft copy, whatever available, please engage, read every day, chanting and prasadam. If you do these 4 things, then we will achieve perfection. There is no doubt about it. This is the process given by our acharyas. Okay. So this is very important, and materially, as we are living, we should understand that, you know, I should not get too materially attached. I should not become afraid. I should not become angry. We should try to, you know, try not to get in, you know, sucked into all these things. And like I said, you know, parallelly, we also chant so that, you know, we become cleansed, and then we don't have to suffer with these problems. Okay. So I'll end here. Anybody has anything to say or ask?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Any other, anything? Padma Mataji was sending messages to me and I answered her questions. So she's, anybody had any other questions, thoughts? I mean, this is the most beautiful thing. You know, like, maybe let me just stop this recording now. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.